Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program in chapter 5 is multiple stock sales. Okay, so use the method you wrote for programming challenge 10 with the stock profit in a program that calculates the total profit or loss for the sale of multiple stocks. The program should ask the user for the number of stock sales and the necessary data for each stock sale. It should accumulate the profit or loss for each stock sale and then display the total. Okay, so this program is basically using the previous program we did, which is I think stock sales, and we are instead of asking the user once the details of a stock, we are going to ask the user multiple times, or even better, we're going to allow the user to enter how many times they want to record details for a stock and know the profit, or for stocks and know the profit. So they're going to enter details about multiple stocks, and then the program is going to accumulate the profit or loss for each stock sale and then display the total. So I'm going to cut to this question over here, and I'm going to open the previous program. So that's it here, stock profit. Since we're going to be editing this, or basically working with the same program, but adding a few things to it, I'm just going to save this program as the new program. So I'll just close this one and I'll save it as a new program. So first of all, I'll name this as the new program, which is that's stock profit. The other one is called what? Just hold on a second. I'm just paste this here and see. Okay, multiple stock sales. All right. So I'll name it as multiple stock sales. And I will save it as multiple stock sales. So chapter 5, I'll create a new folder for multiple stock sales. And I'll save this also as multiple stock sales.java. Oops. Okay, and then I'll paste the question here. So that's the new one. It's fine. Okay, so now we have the new one here. Okay, so we're basically going to ask the user multiple times instead of just asking the user once over here in main. So in main over here, we ask the user once. So let me just go ahead and run this program so we see how it runs already. Sorry about that. Okay, so please enter the number of it's supposed to be shares. I'm going to enter, let's say 10. Enter the purchase price at $1. Enter the purchase commission, let's say 0.02%. Please enter the sale price. Sold it for $2. Sale commission 0.02. I guess you made a profit of $9.96. I don't know if the values are correct, but as long as the formula, they gave us the formula here in the question. I mean, in the previous question they did, so we use the formula. So as long as the formula is correct, then it should be correct. Okay, so instead of asking the user details for only one stock, let's go ahead and ask the user multiple times, and we're going to do that with a loop. So I'm going to create a loop here. First of all, I'll shift them, see if this functionality works. Looks like it doesn't. Alright, so let me see if there's a way I can... Oh, it's not working. Alright. I guess I have to do it manually then. Let me see if there's a way to just indent it. I've never tried to do that here. Let's see. Okay. Let me see on... No, it's not. It's not really working. Just bear with me here 1 second. Nope. Okay, so it's not really working like the way I wanted to. Alright, it's fine. So I'll first of all create a loop Well, first of all, let's ask the user how many times or how many detail, how many stock, how many details of a stock do they want to enter. Okay, so let's ask the user that. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a system.out.println statement. And let's ask the user to enter how many stocks they want to keep track of. So please enter the number of stocks you want to keep track of in terms of profits. Okay, so in terms of profit. So once we ask the user that, we want to go ahead and, since we've declared the scanner already, we want to go ahead and use the scanner to prompt for input. So I'm going to call scanner.next int, because the reason why we are calling scanner.next int is because we know it's going to be an integer. It's just a number of, the number of items, it's just an integer number of items or number of stocks they want to keep track of stock. So it's going to be an integer. It's just going to be like a count of a number. So once the user, so basically the scanner.next int is going to allow the user to type in something. It's going to prompt a text box. It's going to basically pop up a text box and allow the user to type in the number of stocks they want to keep track of. And whatever the user types is going to be converted to an integer and then returned. Once it's returned, we need a place to store it. So I'm going to come up here and declare another variable, and I'm going to call it integer. It's going to be an integer because again, it's just keeping track of the number of times they want to enter details for a stock. So I'm going to declare an integer variable, and I'm going to call it number of tracks. I don't know, number of tracks. You can call it anything that makes sense to you, okay? But I'm just going to call it number of tracks, which means number of, and basically how many times they want to enter details for a stock to keep track of the profit. Okay, so once the user types in that and it's been converted to an integer, I'm going to store that number the user has typed into number of tracks here. And I'm going to use this number of tracks basically to loop, or basically in a loop, I'm going to iterate that many times, okay, to ask the user, basically, that many times. So I'm going to create a for loop. Let me just go ahead and create this structure. And I'm going to call this, first of all, I'm going to initialize a variable because we are starting from 1. I want to start from 1 all the way to the number of tracks. And I want to ask the user to enter basically the details for that particular stock. I'm going to define a variable, and I'm going to call it current track. Okay, current track is basically the current, the current stock, the user is working on. So the program is going to start by asking the details of the first stock. The program is going to go on to the second stock, the third stock, and so on. This current track variable, the current track variable that I'm about to create is going to keep track of basically the current track. It's going to start from 1 all the way to the number of tracks. So it's going to be an integer. So integer current track is equal to 1. So for integer current track is equal to 1, I'm starting from 1. As long as current track is less than or equal to the number of tracks, do what's in the for loop, and before you come back up and check to see if the current track is I'm sorry about that. So we're initializing current track to 1. As long as current track is less than or equal to the number of I apologize for the coughing. Okay. I think I need some water. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So current track is going to be equal to 1. As long as current track is less than or equal to the number of tracks, do what's in the for loop. And before you come back up and check to see if current track is less than or equal to number of tracks, add 1 to current track. Okay, so let's just do that. So we are starting from 1, and as long as current track is less than or equal to the number of tracks, do what's in the for loop, and before you come back up and check to see if current track is less than or equal to number of tracks, you add 1 to track. So that initially current track is going to be 1. It's going to do what's in the, well, it's going to check to see if if 1 is less than or equal to, assuming the user typed in 5 for number of tracks, it's going to check to see if 1 is less than or equal to 5. And yet, because it's less than or equal to 5, it's going to do what's in the for loop. And before it comes back up and check to see if current track is less than or equal to number of tracks, it's going to add 1 to it, increase current track to 2, and it's going to check if 2 is less than or equal to 5, assuming the user entered 5 for number of tracks, and keep going. So don't get confused by this name, current track or number of tracks. It's just keeping track of how many stock the user wants to keep track of, how many details the user want to enter. Basically how many times the user want to know the details of a particular stock, pretty much. All right, so each time what we want to do is all of this. We want to ask for the details of all of these. It means we're going to call the function however many times the number of tracks is. So each time we want to ask for the details of a stock, for the details of the stock here. And we want to calculate the profit and before displaying it. So over here, I'll just go ahead and highlight all of this because we need all of that. So I cut it. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in the program here. So I'll paste it here, and I'll it does. Oh, it works. Okay. All right. So let me just do that. Okay, so it's working. Initially it wasn't. Okay. All right, so now what we have is the for loop is going to run however many times the user enters for number of tracks. It's going to ask for the details of each stock, calculate the profit, and then display it. But the program wants us to actually keep track of the total profit. So it should accumulate the profit or loss for each stock sale and then display the total. So what we want to do is each time we get a profit, we want to add it up to another variable which is going to keep track of basically all the profit or loss, the profit or loss for each stock. So basically it's going to put that all together, and we're going to know the total profit or total loss for, basically total profit. Yeah, it can be a loss as well. So it's going to keep track of the total for basically the computation here. So I'm going to go ahead here and declare a variable. It's going to be a double because the total profit or loss can be a double. It can be a monetary amount, like let's say $25.2 or let's say 80.5. It can be a decimal, a double. So I'm going to declare it as a double, and I'm going to call it total. Total just because the program said total over here. So let's say, or we can even call it total profit or loss. I don't care, but I'm just going to declare it as total. And I'm going to initialize it to 0 because we're going to be adding to it. Initially, it's 0. Before we add anything to it, it's 0. So we're going to be adding to it. So anytime we calculate a profit, we want to go ahead and add to what's already stored in total. So anytime we calculate the profit, we want to, total is going to be equal to what's already stored in total plus the profit. So this is going to keep track of the total profit or loss. And it makes sense because profit can be a negative number, right? So first of all, what it's going to do is initially total is going to be 0. It's going to take what's already stored in 0. It's going to take what's already stored in 0 and add the profit to it. So let's say the profit was, let's say, $2. It's going to add 2 to 0. The whole thing is going to be 2, and it's going to store it in total. The next time this loop iterates, total is 2. So it's going to take 2 and add whatever profit or loss to it. Let's say the profit was, let's say, -1. It was a loss of -1. So 2 plus -1, which gives us 1, and it's going to store 1 into total. So total is just keeping track of how many or what's the profit or loss, the total profit or loss for all of the number of times the user wants to know details about a stock. And the computation will work. For example, I can try it in the interaction mode just so we see it. So I can try to do a regular math, which is 2 plus 2, and it gives you 4, right? And I can do 2 minus, let's say, 3, and it gives you negative 1. Now I can also do 2 plus negative 1, or is it? Negative 1 like this, and it's still going to work because 2 plus negative 1, the plus and minus is going to evaluate to minus. So 2 plus negative 1 is going to give us 1, and we can see it here. So something like this can work. So even if profit is a negative number, it's still going to compute the correct value and store it in total. So this is going to keep track of that for us, the total amount. And over here, we don't want to check profit anymore. We want to check to see if total is less than 0, meaning if it's a negative number, then they made a loss of total. So if total is less than 0, we want to keep track of that. And if it's not less than 0 and it's 0 or above, then they made a profit, I guess. Normally, if it's 0, then we should say maybe they broke even or something. But I just kept it simple. If it's not less than 0, then it's a profit, So we're keeping track of total here. In the previous program, we were keeping track of profit, but now since we're working with this program and we have included or we introduced total, we are now keeping track of total to see if they made a total loss or a total profit. So we can say you made a total loss, you made a total profit of this. And now we're done. So let's go ahead and compile this program and run it and see what happens. So now it says, please enter the number of stocks you want. Actually, what we can do before that, we can just know exactly what current track you're working on. Since current track is keeping track of the current track, okay, it's keeping track of the current track. It's going to hold that number. So initially, if it's 1, then all of the details we enter for the first iteration are going to be details about stock 1, and then it's going to be incremented to 2, and all the details we enter for that are going to be details for stock 2. And it's going to keep incrementing all the way to a number of tracks. So we can use the variable stored in current track to actually help make the program more understandable, because we can now use it with these statements so we can know exactly which stock we're working on. So please enter the number of shares we can say for stock, and we can use the variable current track because it holds the current track. Please enter the purchase price for stock. Oh, not stock. Wait. Let's see. Please enter the number of shares for stock 1, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, so we can do that. We're just using the variable with the statements just to make it look reasonable. So please enter the purchase price for stock, and we can use the variable here, current track. Please enter the purchase commission. Again, we can just go ahead and use it for let's see. Now, even before this, even before the colon, we can just do this for that current track for, and we can concatenate it with a colon here, like this. So let's see. We can just copy this whole string here. So now it's keeping track of, basically it's going to display basically with some information to help us know exactly which stock we're working on. So let's now run it and see how it's going to display. So now it says, please enter the number of stocks again you want to keep track of. So I'm going to enter, let's say, 3. Now it says, please enter the number of shares for stock 1. So current track over here is keeping track of what the particular stock we are asking details about. So please enter the number of shares for stock 1. I'm going to enter 2. I'm just going to enter random numbers here. Please enter the purchase price. I'm just going to enter random numbers here. But it's still asking details about stock 1. So please enter the sale commission for stock 1. You made a total loss of, okay. So we display the message over here. So let's go down here and compile this. We display the message inside of the for loop, and we weren't supposed to do that actually. You want to go ahead and display that after we're done calculating the total, after we know the total. Otherwise, it wouldn't be right, because it hasn't even asked for details about the second stock, but it's displaying to us the total, which is correct. But this is the total only for stock 1. Okay, it's just like the profit for stock 1. So the profit or loss for stock 1. So let's go ahead and cut this if statement. We want to go ahead and display the details after it's finished calculating the total, so that we can know the exact total after it's done with all the iterations. So after it's done with the for loop, we want to go ahead and display the total here like this. And so let me shift this a little bit, indent it a little bit. Okay, so now we are displaying this message outside the for loop when it's done with everything. So let me enter 2 this time around, just to make it snappy. All right, so please enter the number of stocks. I'm going to enter 2. Please enter the number of shares for stock 1. I'm just going to enter random numbers here. And then after this, now it's going to ask, please enter the number of shares for stock 2. So it's keeping track of the current stock. Oh, I entered a 2 here. And then after it's done with everything, now it says you made a total loss of $18. Of negative $18. So we now know this is not working. All right, so we're done. If you have any questions, please comments down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next program. All right, bye-bye.